Welcome to Altitude Sports Radio Training Camp recap with Coach Mike Sanford, noticeably absent the past 2 days. That's pretty funny. Nate Kreckman is due to join us today, Coach. So
the wordsmith himself, huh? He is I'll tell you what, there's nobody who can put a sentence together with exquisite language quite like one Nate Kreckman.
Good luck trying to even replicate it. That's the best I could do. Yeah, right.
That's about what I got right there.
All right. Well, we'll get Nate on here in a second. We appreciate everybody watching. Today, we heard about another poor day for the offense. It was pretty funny. We had Jonah Ellis on, rookie pass rusher from Utah. Interesting factoid about Jonah Ellis. He has 3 brothers. They've all played college football. One of his brothers is actually with the Falcons. All 3 of his brothers went to Idaho. He's from Moscow, Idaho. So why in the world would he go to Utah? And he goes, yeah, I get that question a lot. It's just great facilities. And I'm like, well, what does that say about Idaho? But that's Jonah Ellis. So his response to today, Mike, was, today was great. We had a great day today.
That's how I felt about Saturday. I was like, for maybe as bad as it looked offensively, that means somebody's doing really well, and it was the defensive side of the rock.
Yeah, man. Correct dog. Correct dog.
What's up, dude?
In the mix. I love it. Yeah, so we just heard nothing but bad things about practice yesterday and today because we're obsessed with the offense, Nate. So that's all we look about. That's all we concentrate on is the offense.
It just means the defense is dominating. No, that's absolutely right. It couldn't have anything to do at all with a struggling offense. Nothing whatsoever.
Today we got an interesting peek at the quarterbacks today. So I got some video for you guys to compare and contrast. And I think we found out something interesting about Bo Nix today. I think. Let me play a little bit example. Here is Bo talking about the depth chart.
Listed at number 3. Did you kind of notice that commotion or anything like that?
Couldn't care less.
Okay. So is that generally on the depth chart? You don't care how you're listed at this point, I guess. Honestly.
Couldn't care less.
Bo, is there a conscious effort, like days you don't run with the ones to still keep the same sort of, do you want to show them you have the same focus?
I better, or I'm not going to be running with the ones anymore. But yeah, every day you got to be consistent no matter what group you're going with. Go out there and do your best and make sure you're operating at a high level.
I guess, if they ever said, like, you got to.
How would you describe that kind of demeanor right there?
Couldn't care less. Yeah, that's one time I think I think it's the right thing to say.
Hey, let me play you a little bit more. Let me play you a little bit more. Just another taste of Bo Nix today. This is the very beginning of the
pressure looks at you. What do you get out of that in terms of having to make those quick decisions?
Just kind of read and react and go with whatever you say and get back in the film room and watch it and learn from it.
Well, how eager are you for your first preseason reps, and what are you looking to get out of this season?
I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there and play against another defense and just go out there and execute.
How much more importance do you think should possibly be placed?
You kind of get the idea, right?
He didn't want to be there.
I think it was frustration about performance, and not just his performance, which I wasn't there for. So I'm not going to make any evaluation the last 2 days of practice. But, I do think that Bo Nix wants the offense to look really good in general. I think he really does care. I think he's a leader. He's been the face of the Auburn Tigers, been the face of the Oregon Ducks, 2 very proud football programs and traditions. And I think his own personal performance and certainly the offense's performance, he frankly didn't want, like you said, Cracker, he didn't want to be there, especially after a second day that was not good.
Well, that thing that you talked about right there of like, he is used to being the face, the guy. And right now he's sitting on a depth chart at number 3. He's not used to living in this world right now. Like this is an uncomfortable space for him to live in. And some guys don't make a good adjustment to that. What's interesting, and DMac, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of things. I don't want to take it, but Stidham was asked about sort of some of the rookie hazing that he was doing.
Nate, I've got that for you right now. So let's think about what we saw from Bo. I also have some Zach Wilson upon request. And this is about the rookie hazing.
He's got to carry our pads. That's a mandatory. Pretty much anything that goes wrong, I just blame him. I had a rookie haircut from Tom my rookie year. I think that's against the rules nowadays. We're not much of a snacking group, so we don't make him get snacks or anything. Sometimes I forget if I forget something in my locker, I'll make him go get it. Yeah, he's pretty much. Yeah, he's got to do certain stuff for sure. And at whatever point we decide to do his rookie dinner, I will be getting a nice bottle of wine or something that, he's going to be paying for. So I'll make sure that's a really, really nice dinner, and I'll be very, very happy and not hungry. So it'll be great.
Is he been receptive to these rookie duties?
Whether or not if he is or if he isn't, he doesn't really have a choice. And sometimes he'll kind of bicker a little bit back at me, and I'm like, "Bo, we have literally all done this before." So I make sure he gets his rookie duty, especially being a first round pick. I actually make fun of him and Zach all the time because in their rookie contracts, they've made more money than I have my entire career at this point. So I'm like, you two are not off the hook. So I let them have it for sure.
That's what you're talking about, right, Nate?
It's a guy that, to Mike's point, he was in college for like a decade. So he hadn't been the rookie in so long that now he is in an unfamiliar spot. He also, he doesn't have full mastery of the offense. He's trying to play catch up. I think the ego is hit. It's the point of camp where he's a little bit fried. And as a result, you got a guy that was a little grouchy today.
Yeah, I got a media member sending me a text tonight. Bo Nix showed some arrogance today. Arrogance or frustration, Coach?
Well, I like it because I think we saw some salty Bo. We've seen salty Sean, and I think that salty Sean likes salty Bo.
Now they're not big snack guys.
Well, yeah, hate snacks. I'm a big snack guy.
I love the fact that Jared Stidham said, well, a couple times Bo has been like questioning whether he should do it or not. And then Stidham was funny. He says, I know what their rookie signing bonuses were. I know what their contracts were. You know what I'm saying? Like, carry my pad, bitch. I mean, I know what you make. This is it. So, but to a significant point, we looked it up. Bo Nix was a backup varsity quarterback as an 8th grader. He hasn't been a non-starter since 9th grade. And yes, he spent how many years in college? And, the dude just is not used to this position. So perhaps he is a little salty today. This is a dude who's 24 going on 57. He bought a house in Castle Pines, Nate. Castle Pines.
Oh, he's got a lacrosse ball in his bag because he's got to roll himself against the wall. It's like when you reveal what's in your backpack, don't remind everybody, hey, the thing about me is that I'm really, really old.
I think of anybody on the Altitude on air lineup that I would want to know what is in the backpack. It would be the two of you guys. I would love to know what is in one Nate Kreckman's backpack, especially when he's on his way to a Dead & Company show.
I was gonna say there's like an 8-month-old Nature Valley in there. I think is what I got in my backpack right now. A Broncos training camp roster from 2017.
That's a good year.
I haven't cleaned that thing out in a while. Yeah, that was a quarterback competition year.
Yeah, that was a VJ year. VJ had firm control of nothing that particular year.
That was Camp Paxton v. Trevor was what was going on right there.
V. Sloter. I mean, if we want to keep going, I mean, it was one of them. But yeah, man, listen. All right, so is arrogance, cockiness, saltiness, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Because today, Bo Nix, I was looking at Bo Nix like, wow, once you get 6 NFL starts, you're going to be insufferable. Like, we'll never be able to talk to you.
I don't mind the lack of polish, though. Like, that's where I come down on this. Like, I'm okay with a bit of authenticity, whether we want to call it arrogance, saltiness, whatever it was. It was nice that he didn't get up there and just give us canned robotic answers, which is also a nice change of pace for this town. Like, you had Stiddy up there who's like, MC in a Comedy Central roast, and then you get salty Bo Nix up there. Like, I enjoy the authenticity versus what we got for the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, it's funny. Here we go. From Trey, seeing a quarterback with human emotions is different than Russ. Well, that's what you're referring to, obviously.
Yeah, and I'd say this. I agree with you, Nate. I like the authenticity. I like the real. I like that you could get a glimpse into maybe how Bo Nix is wired as a competitor, and unacceptable to Bo Nix is unacceptable, which is good, right? Like he's not going to go Russell Wilson in a post game and start talking about his left guard and the work that he does in the offseason. I mean, it's pretty much as if it's not good enough, it's not good enough, and you're going to see a salty addition to me.
Well,
Now,
I'll tell you who was in a lousy mood after a bad practice was Peyton Manning. He didn't hide it. Yeah, no, he was, but Russ, you're right about that. Russ wasn't a human being. Like, every practice was great when clearly it wasn't. And it's not like Nix was, I like what you guys are saying, you got to have some emotion. Things aren't going great the past couple days. I bet he isn't used to, Nate, being third string on anything. And as manufactured as that whole depth chart BS was, he's hearing about it, isn't he? Bo Nix is hearing about it.
Yeah, it's become a national talking point. And in addition to that, like the uncomfortable spot that he is in, I'm also willing to bet you playing quarterback for Sean Payton is no picnic.
Right.
And that part of it, the heat, the exhaustion, the mental fatigue that you're at that part of camp, it all blends together into a bit of a grumpiness stew. And like, yeah, again, is he arrogant? Well, a star quarterback. Yeah, I bet you he's pretty arrogant. Those guys tend to sort of have that. That's what made me chuckle when people are like, "Oh, Noah Lyles is so arrogant. I can't stand that guy." Literally the fastest man on the planet. You can't have that designation and be like, Mr. Humility. No, you are the fastest human being alive. When you give people designations like that, yes, they are going to have a slightly warped sense of self, but also don't they have to have it in that position?
Well, we should ask the guy who actually did it, and that's Mike Sanford. I mean, you
Star
did it.
Quarterback.
I know. So what was your salty level there, Mike?
He's as warped as anyone I know.
Very warped, extremely warped. I'll say this, like if your saltiness, and we'll call it like grumpiness, if it carries over day after day after day, and frankly, you haven't yet achieved anything truly in the level that you're now tasked at playing, which is the National Football League, that becomes a downer. Your teammates will start looking at you as somebody who's frazzled. Now, if your saltiness is one of like a resolute attitude that leads to finding solutions vis-a-vis resolve, then I think it's an awesome thing. And so, I've been around quarterbacks that were so like stoic and just they wanted everything to be so right. And if it wasn't right, every practice that wasn't good enough. Like I'd be okay with that if you're a 15-year NFL veteran, like Peyton Manning was, or Tom Brady. But if you're trying to win a quarterback competition at any level, like that starts to rub off in a negative manner. I don't think that Bo Nix is anywhere near that. In fact, this is the first glimpse that we've seen into that side of him. And I'm here for all of it.
Meanwhile, let's go to the animal shelter where there's a little puppy that's been in the rain for like 3 years, and that's Zach Wilson, who's just happy to get some shelter. His mood was significantly different.
Me personally, just different mindset, just how I'm approaching the game. Just absolute love and just being grateful for just being out here. Not a lot of people get to come out here and throw the ball around an NFL field, and I'm blessed to be out here and just trying to take advantage of it and just keep improving and do the best I can.
What have you enjoyed?
Yeah, you can tell. I got one more for Bo. Or for Zach Wilson too here. Hold on. This is a quick one too.
Yeah, it's gonna be great to get on the field and play against somebody different. I think we're all excited about that. And whether it's preseason or regular season, it's always good to just get back in that stadium and just that real time speed. It's always like it's almost like you've never been there before. Like that feeling, just every time it hits you, it's fun, and we want to take advantage of it.
So he's just kind of happy. I don't know.
I think he's relieved to not be on the Jets anymore, right?
He's got to love having DMac in the media, in the scrum, as opposed to some of those a-holes from the New York Post on a weekly basis. And I'd say this about Zach. Clearly he's not a part of this competition right now. Now, could he at some point this year? You bet your ass he might be at some point this year, depending on how it all plays out. You just don't know. But I do think that part of his process he was a little bit arrogant. He was salty as a rookie in New York. He wasn't always, I think, this version of him. I think that he's gotten to a place of just taking it a day at a time, and being grateful that he even has an opportunity. And I do think that is authentic. Like, whether it comes off as inauthentic, if you look at some of the stuff from his final year at BYU, some of the media stuff he did, you look at some of the stuff in New York, I think this is actually him being authentic with the journey that he's been on in the current stage he is.
I think the truth with the Denver media, there's a lot of us. There is. But we're not a nasty crew. Not really. And but we are challenging to a degree, Nate, compared to like the New Orleans crew for Sean Payton. I mean, we exist. There's plenty of us. It's just that I don't think we're necessarily a bunch of jerks.
You're going to be asked about it, like the depth chart, for example.
Yeah.
Sean wanted to put that thing out. He wanted to send the message to the rookies, and then he wanted to have it disappear into the ether. And it was a second-day news cycle. Sean had to deal with that whole thing today because, again, to your point, DMac, so many reporters, so much content. There's just that many people out there. Everybody's got to feed the wheel. So that's what's going on with that group right now. But yeah, I have never taken this to be a particularly harsh media. I think it's a harsh fan base. I don't know if it's necessarily a harsh media.
Well, here's what I'm seeing with the fan base too. Maybe Daniel both seems to stand up for himself and works to get better and doesn't care about outside opinions. We don't really know, Daniel. We've just gotten to know Bo Nix here a little bit, but what I find with the fan base guys is they do tend to rally around the team and the players, especially at this time of the year, where any criticism whatsoever doesn't always go over that great.
Yeah, it's going to get worse. That's unless this team turns into 13-4, which I don't think anybody sees happening.
But the fans will have their back until the wheels, sort of completely fall off.
And until they have a reason not to. The perfect example of it to me was Drew Lock, who he got his final 5 games in 2019 and impressed, and then came out in 2020 and was just brutal. And he probably got graced for a few months, and then much of that disappeared. Yeah, he still had his backers in the competition with Teddy Bridgewater, but after a while, even those fans, I don't even think they could kid themselves into continuing to love Drew Lock. Young quarterbacks will get some grace. It's just how long is that whole thing going to last? And are you showing everybody the requisite effort and everything that they want to see? Are you diving on top of loose balls, things like that? Don't skip out on doing that in this town.
I'm literally having multiple other media members from other outlets reach out to me as we're doing this. So thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate that. The only one who's arrogant is Stidham. Absurd answer for a guy who's holding a clipboard in a month. Wow, Mike. Any response to that?
No, I love the role that Stidham played. I mean, it was awesome. That's exactly the role he should be playing. He is the vet in the room. He is the guy that is involved in this quarterback competition, whether he's holding a clipboard or not. He's still. This is a long-standing tradition in the National Football League that rookies have to carry the gear at every position, not just quarterback, off the field. I mean, that's just what you do. And so he's upholding that tradition. Something that he even mentioned is I did it myself. So you want to be grumpy pants about it? Like, this is how it's done, man. Figure it out, because Tom Brady did it. Peyton Manning did it, so you better figure it out. So
also, isn't that exactly, Coach, what they're paying Stiddy to do right now? His job is to set that table, set that agenda, be the air quotes veteran old guy in the room, and sort of set that standard that Nix then has to reach. This is exactly what Sean Payton wants him to be.
I'd agree with that. The convoluted aspect of his role is that he's essentially being paid to show Bo Nix the ropes, but internally he's trying to beat the living crap out of Bo Nix on the field and outperform
the quarterback.
He gets the opportunity to be the starting quarterback. And I've noticed the last 4 or 5 days that I've been out at practice, and I'd say definitely Friday, Saturday, and for sure on Monday, there's a little chip and swagger to Jarrett Stidham. Like, listen, rookie, watch how it's done. Not like, hey, rookie, let's this is how it should be done. No, it's like, hey, bro, watch this. And I've loved every single second of it. And I think you need that kind of an agitator in the room. I love that in a room when I have a different group of quarterbacks. If there's somebody who's kind of getting the fire going, hell yeah, I welcome it. And I don't care if it's the first, second, or third string guy.
Will our myopic view of the Broncos be exposed on Sunday, Nate?
I don't know. That's a great question, actually. And to me, that's a bigger topic. Like, what is going to be shown on Sunday? What answers are we going to get?
Starting quarterback will be
Jared
Stidham.
Stidham, right?
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
And by the way, I get it. The depth chart means nothing, except it kind of means something. And I spent 5 minutes on it. Yeah, I found out it was a little bit more than 5 minutes, frankly. So, and on the depth chart, Riley Moss or Damari Mathis, Cody Barton or Jonas Griffith, right? I mean, okay. I mean, there's a couple of ors there. And like Matt Henningsen, third team. Well, that was thought out. That wasn't, just some sort of, whatever sort of moment.
That one caught my eye. That was the one thing on the depth chart that really caught my eye. Because I looked at the depth chart pretty much it was almost a seniority chart rather than a depth chart. Yeah. And not just that the rookies were at the tail end. It was almost like the more established veterans, except for Henningsen. Like that really stood out to me.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, man. If anybody thinks that Tim Patrick right now has earned the starting spot opposed to Cortland Sutton is on something.
Or not watching training camp at all.
Yeah.
Right. So that's thought out too. So there were a lot of like thought out moments on this depth chart. It wasn't completely random. And don't forget, Sean Payton on Monday said, yeah, we should know the starting quarterback, whatever, Tuesday or Wednesday. Then today it was, got to talk about this tonight, and we'll let you know tomorrow, maybe something like that. Because what I think's happened, Nate, is there's a couple of lousy practices. Things didn't go maybe exactly the way they wanted to. And I think there is a message being sent to Bo Nix right now. I do. I think that is happening.
So how far does that message go? Does it go to the point that Zach Wilson plays second coming up on Sunday?
Wow, wouldn't that be something?
That's the message.
Based on the reps and how the rotations are going at practice, that would be shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo Nix has done nothing but rep with the ones, coach, all this week, including today.
And the big change for me was the first day that Zach Wilson was supposed to get his chance with the ones. That was a development. Zach Wilson, you're not a part of this quarterback competition, and has never gone back with the ones outside of the non-open practice. The next most telling depth chart look from Sean Payton was Jared Stidham started the open scrimmage on this past Saturday, but only for one series. And then the rest of the time, outside of the end with the 2-minute series, it was all Bo Nix working with the ones. And that showed me once again that this is a decision and a direction, not a competition. And that's exactly what you said, DMac.
Yeah.
The college football coach in me, like, almost can't wrap my mind around a non meritocracy where the depth chart is based off how you perform. Like, that's the thing for me. I'm having to recalibrate the way I look at practice, because in college football, at least the college football I coached in, didn't have salaries. It didn't have contract length. It didn't have how you got there. Now it does. NIL, it sure as hell does.
Sure.
But there are a lot of things that factor into it. And that's Bo Nix is your starting quarterback. So make no mistake about it.
When?
Game one.
Nate?
I agree. I can't imagine a world where he runs Stiddy out there against Seattle. What would be the purpose?
There would be no purpose. In fact, I don't know much of a purpose to keep Stidham on the team, but I'm not joking about that, because you can save $5 million in cash. You're not saving cap space, but you could save cash, and who knows what you could do with that down the line. And frankly, what's the point anyways? If Bo Nix is starting, what do we need? We need Grandpa Stidham, who's very handsome, by the way. That's a very handsome grandpa.
I mean, what I was going to say, just looking at the two of you guys, there's no doubt that both Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson have a perfect face for radio, just like the two of you guys and myself.
Listen,
the Broncos have the hottest quarterback room in the
I was just
NFL.
going to say.
It's pretty
I mean,
good.
it looks like a frat house in the SEC. I mean, for sure.
And
It
frankly,
absolutely does.
seeing you in the middle of this radio face sandwich right now, Mike, is not very encouraging for myself. And I'm not trying to speak poorly of Mr. Kreckman. It's just the outstanding good looks of Mike Sanford is more beguiling than anything. That's
I put myself in the face for radio conversation just for
Mike,
the record.
just shut up. You know you're a good-looking guy. I don't even want to hear it. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than a good-looking dude talking themselves down. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Just shut the hell up. All right.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear it
It's been
from
a rough
you.
summer, man. Dad bod is in full form, but let's keep going here. So go back to why Jarrett Stidham. Okay, they're saying there is no purpose. There is a purpose, because I've always subscribed, especially in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position, to the theory that you only have one chance to make a first impression. So do you want to control what the first impression looks like? Not just for public perception, but also for the actual confidence of Bo Nix. Like, when he's inserted might matter. A home game, a softer opponent. I don't know what to think of Seattle. I'm not saying Seattle's an NFC contender. I'm not saying that, but it is a tough place to play. That you're going to have a lot of unknowns with what McDonald's defense is going to look like. You can say it's all Baltimore Ravens, but you don't know that. How much of Pete Carroll's system do you have to carry over just because the players in the building believe in it defensively? So I do think that the first impression is a reason why I could go against myself in saying that I think Bo Nix is your day one opening game starter.
The thing that I don't know, and Coach, you can speak to this a hell of a lot better than DMac or I can, but I do believe there are some quarterbacks that actually would benefit from sitting, watching, being in the film room, being on the practice field, getting that development, the sort of Aaron Rodgers incubator, so to speak. I think that there are other quarterbacks that really are better if they just play, if they are on the field, if they can make the mistakes, if they can get those live reps. And what I don't know, and this is something that I think that Sean Payton and the coaching staff have to be able to get a feel for, is which one are you? You know, what's funny is, like, think of your guy Jordan Love, Coach. Jordan Love, and sort of the word is like, yeah, well, look at how much better he was because he sat. Well, sure he did, but he also really struggled the first 2 months of the season last year. But he worked through it. He worked it out. He figured out what worked and what didn't. And over the second half of the season, he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Some dudes actually do have to go through it. So you could say, well, Jordan Love is better because he sat. Is he? To me, it looked like he figured it out when he got to play. So which one is Bo Nix? That's what we don't know.
Yeah, the Jordan Love conversation is so interesting on two fronts. Like, do you sit a guy because he's behind a future Hall of Famer for 3 years and then just play him when he's ready, just like, Aaron Rodgers did with Brett Favre. But then also you bring up the in-season part of it, right? Like, so Jordan Love, he didn't play great football in the first 7, 8, 9 weeks of the season. Yeah. But the one difference that I know from having coached him and knowing his skill set, there were wow moments in his first 7, 8, 9 games. I don't know that you're going to have wow moments with Bo. I think you're going to have some wow moments because of his athleticism and speed. But is he going to make the wow throws? I don't have evidence to say that that's going to happen.
Okay, but if it's 3rd and goal from the 7, is it going to be a wow moment when he runs it in after he scrambles around? Is that a wow moment? Because that's what Josh Allen did his first year. Yeah,
but I just don't think he has the body type that Josh Allen does to be able for that to be such a big part of his game, even for the duration of one season. I think it could be like a nice little. It's a change up. It's a nice Bo Nix, if you will, that he brings to the table. But I just don't know that, like, his athleticism and ability to throw on the run is going to be, I think, surprise people.
I think he's got that better than Stidham and Wilson.
Yeah, but that is one of the things I wonder about is, like, what is the wow moment for Bo look like? And I think you guys are both right about that. It's something that he does with his legs.
I do too. Yeah,
it isn't going to be standing in a pocket and, zipping a 30-yard dart with a oncoming rusher in his face directly down the seam. I don't think he's got that throw in it. I don't think that's in his bag.
And I think what Sean Payton wants the wow moment to be is actually very boring and non-wow.
Changing the play.
He is going to operate the offense exactly as it is designed to be operated and do it ad nauseum.
Don't ever forget that last year, for example, to support you on that, Coach, Russell Wilson, the goal line sort of thing, when Sean Payton was screaming at him, he wasn't screaming at him about how that series ended. He was screaming at him about the first play of that series that Wilson screwed up, and that drove him nuts. And I guarantee you, Zach Wilson wouldn't mess that up, Nate. He would get, I don't know if he would convert on it or make it happen, but they would at least be going through the progression as it's been laid out and as it's been coached. That's why Russ shut the hell up, because there's nothing to say about it. He messed it up. There was nothing to say about it, and he allowed Sean Payton to humiliate him on the sideline.
So that's going back to your question of like, I don't know why Stidham's on the team. It's that thing right there. It is because whether it's Bo or whether it's Stiddy as the backup, Sean believes both of those guys will get them in the right play.
Yeah.
They will make the right read and get them in the right play. And yes, you have to have the physical traits. You had to have that just to be able to get into an NFL training camp. That's the thing that Sean wants more than anything else. If anybody is wondering why is Stiddy listed at number 1 on the depth chart, it's because he does those things. And that makes him a Sean Payton guy through and through.
Okay. Everyone wants the CJ Stroud model, but he's the exception, not the rule.
He does rule.
That dude's a freak too. I mean, he's a freak, and I knew that before the season. You never know how a rookie season is going to go, but just in terms of like just raw abilities as a passer.
Yeah, help me out here for a second, Coach. How did the Panthers not see that? How did Bryce Young get ranked ahead of CJ Stroud?
I don't understand it because I evaluated both of those players as high school athletes, and one of them, I believe at the time came and worked, and that's Bryce, came and worked at Notre Dame at a camp. I'm like, this guy looks like a small child, and he was a youngster at the time. It was like his sophomore year or something along those lines. But I was like, this dude looks like a child. Like I don't know how this guy's going to be a Notre Dame starting quarterback, let alone he's this Carolina Panthers franchise. And then I evaluated CJ Stroud as just a youngster that had very little offers when I was at Utah State. I'm like, this dude does some crazy things. He's got length. He's got athleticism, changes his arm slot, throws off platform, does everything, the checklist of the modern NFL quarterback. And that is what's so different. That is what I think Bo Nix has the ability to throw off platform and change up arm slots, but not to the extent that a CJ Stroud does. There's a different level of creativity as a passer, and it's really hard to quantify. It's almost one of those things. It's like, if you know it when you see it. That's what the NFL quarterback is now in the mold of Patrick Mahomes. And I think CJ Stroud, Jordan Love are in that exact same conversation. It's the creativity as a passer.
I'll give you one last one, and we'll kick it to. Well, I got to watch the Olympics. I don't know what happened. Don't say shit. I don't want to know anything. Just keep your mouth shut. All right.
They were hurtling the last time.
You know what? Even that is a tip off. Just zip it. What does? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like. What does Bo Nix need to do? Nate, I'll start with you. What does Bo Nix need to do to earn the starting spot?
Efficiency. 100% efficiency. That's what you need to see out of him on Sunday, and continued going forward, in and out of the huddle cleanly, get it into the right play, make the correct read at the line of scrimmage, and never turn the ball over. I think those are the things that Sean is dying to have as his quarterback here in Denver.
Do you think you can do that within 15 to 18 plays? Which is what he's going to get. I mean, it's going to be snaps, not quarters. Sean Payton made that clear. He did it last year, so I'm assuming that's the case.
I really do think that Sean Payton and his staff are going to sit down and they're going to go, okay, what percentage of times did he do the right thing? Just flat out in whatever the situation, whatever the play called for, how many times did they do the right thing? And I think that's how he's going to evaluate every single one of these guys, is how often are they doing exactly what I need them to do?
Coach?
I would say this. There's two things that Bo Nix has to do or needs to avoid in order to make sure that he is the starting quarterback. And number one is he's got to keep his name Bo Nix, because he is the apple of Sean Payton's eye. I've used that phrase over and over and over. He is the guy that Sean Payton handpicked and even kind of went out of his way to brag about J.J. McCarthy. Like, oh, yeah, I got you. I made the Vikings go up and draft J.J. McCarthy, that schmuck. So don't change your name. Be Bo Nix, right? So just by virtue of having his name be Bo Nix, that's the first thing. The second thing, to make Sean Payton, in my opinion, feel comfortable about starting him on the road in Seattle is that he's got to have no more than one bad preseason game. If he has two like disastrous preseason games, I think that would maybe elicit Jarrett Stidham until Bo Nix is ready. I think one bad preseason game, whether it's the first or second, hell, even maybe the third, it happens, right? But two, that becomes a trend. And so that's what I'm looking at when I watch these three preseason games.
All right, boys. The Cubs beat the Twins 8-2 tonight, and the Giants beat the Nationals 7-4. Just want to let you know that. The Rockies are currently tied at 2 apiece against the Mets. It's the bottom of the 7th. Do the Rockies win this one or lose this one? Nate?
Don't care.
Okay, Coach?
Loss.
Thank you guys for participating in our adventures into footballdom in the training camp. It's Altitude Sports Radio Training Camp React. By the way, can I just mention something? It's the first time we've done it where everybody's been properly mic'd up. Nate Kreckman.
Thank you.
Nate Kreckman.
There you go.